Mushoku Tensei, Book 1, Chapter 3, Magic Textbook. About 2 years has passed since I was reincarnated. My legs and waist were starting to become strong enough for me to walk on my 2 feet, and I was beginning to learn this world's language. Having decided to live on seriously, I started to consider what I could do. What did I need in my life? Studying, sports, and skill sets. As a baby, there was little I could do. The most I could do was bury my face into someone's chest, and when I did that to the maid, it made an unhappy expression. That maid definitely hated kids. Realizing that I can do sports a little later in life, I started searching for books in the house to learn words. It's important to alliterate. There's a near 100% literacy rate amongst Japanese, but many had poor English skills, so they balked at the idea of going overseas, and even treated foreign languages as a mere skill set. Therefore, learning this world's words was my first assignment. There were 5 books in this house. Could it be that books in this world are expensive, or that Paul and Zenith don't read books? It was probably both these reasons. It was unbelievable to me who owned thousands of books, though they're all light novels. There were only 5 books, but they were sufficient for me to learn to recognize words. This world's language was similar to Japanese, so it was easy for me to pick up, even though the letters were completely different. Learning how to speak went very smoothly. I'll be fine as long as I remember enough vocabulary. It's beneficial to first understand how to speak. Father read me contents of this. Father read me the contents of this book many times, so learning the vocabulary went smoothly. Perhaps it had something to do with this body's ability to memorize well. After being able to read the language, I found the book's contents very interesting. In my past life, I never thought of learning as interesting. Thinking back about it, it was exactly the same as memorizing information from the internet. How can it not be interesting? Nevertheless, did my father really think an infant would be able to understand the contents of that book? It was fine for me. But any normal 1-year-old kid would have frowned and started bawling. These were the 5 books at home. This is a guidebook that contains the name and unique characteristics of various countries in the world. A book that describes the monsters that appeared in the Vtuber region and ways to handle them. A guidebook that explains how to use magic attacks from an elementary rank to the advanced rank. A fairy tale about a summoner named Perugius who traveled along with his companions, battling the demon gods, saving the world, punishing evil, and rewarding the good. It's the adventure of 3 talented swordsmen of different sword styles who encountered each other and entered the labyrinth. Leaving aside the 2 battle novels, the other 3 let me learn a lot, especially the guidebook about magic. To me, who came from a world without magic, the things recorded here got me really interested. I understood a few basics. First of all, magic can be broadly classified into 3 categories. Attack magic, attacks a target. Healing magic, heals a target. Summoning magic, calls out something. 3 types, easy to understand. There are various functions, but according to the guidebook, magic was originally developed for war. It still isn't really used much besides battle and hunting. To use magic, you must have mana. Conversely, as long as you have mana, you could use magic. There are 2 ways of using magic. Use the mana within your body. Draw out mana from something that contains mana. It must be one of these 2. I can't think of a good example. It's probably something like a home generator for the former and a battery for the latter. Long time ago, people used only their mana to use magic. As generations passed, magic was researched, and the difficulty spiked, and the mana required increased exponentially as a result. This was fine for people who had a lot of mana, but those with lesser mana couldn't use that sort of magic. Thus, a magician's Thus, the magicians of the past thought of ways to draw out mana from elsewhere to fulfill the magic requirements. There are two ways to activate magic: incantation and magic array. There's really no need to explain, right? To activate a spell, either utter a chant through the mouth or draw a magical array. Magic arrays were the norm a very long time ago, but an incantation is currently the mainstream. In the distant past, the simplest incantation required about 1 or 2 minutes. It was very long, but this method was very difficult to use in battle. In contrast, once a magic array was drawn, it could be used repeatedly. There was a certain magician who successfully reduced the incantation time, thus incantation became the norm. The simplest incantations took about 5 seconds, so basic magic attacks could be used with the incantations. But unless the situation was urgent, complicated magic spells are still cast with magic arrays. For a person's mana is set when they are born. A normal RPG increased your MP as you level up, but this doesn't look the case in this world. Basically, everyone's a warrior by profession. Just saying that term makes me feel like there was something of a change. What about me? Apparently, the amount of mana one possessed was hereditary. The fact that my mother was capable of magic meant I could probably hope for a certain amount of innate mana. It's a little worrying. Even if my parents are talented, I don't think my genetic makeup is capable of that. In any case, I began to try out the simplest magic. The guidebook contained methods for both incantations and magic formation, but since incantation's the norm, and there's no place for me to draw magic arrays, I started with incantation. It seems that the more complicated a spell was, the longer the incantation time would be. In fact, extremely complicated spells had to be chanted in conjuration with magic arrays. That's not a problem in the beginning, however. It seems a skilled magician can use magic without incantation, voiceless incantation, or reducing the chance, something like this. But why was it that a skilled person didn't need incantation? The amount of mana required to cast the technique doesn't change, and even if you level up, your MP won't increase either. Or was it more skilled? Or was it the more skilled you are, the less mana you'd use? No, even if that does decrease one's mana usage, there's no reason to skip steps. Whatever, I'll just try it out. I hold the guidebook in my left hand, stretching out my right, and read out the words. Bestow the protection of water on the place thee demandest. Let thine crystal clear flow here. Water ball. I felt the sensation of blood gathering in my right hand. The blood feels as if it's being squeezed out, and a water bolt the size of a fist appeared in front of my right hand. Whoa! The moment I showed amazement, the water bolt fell onto the floor, dampening it. The book said that the water bolt should be shot out, but it had fallen instead. Perhaps my concentration had been broken, causing the spell to fail. Concentrate. Concentrate. The sensation of blood gathering in my right hand. This feeling. I once again raise my hand, recall that feeling from before, and imagine it in my mind. I know how much mana I have, but it's best not to think that I can do it this many times. Concentrate, and let every attempt be successful. First I had to imagine it, then repeat it over and over in my mind, then cast it in reality. If it ended in failure, I'll imagine it again in my mind, until I can do it perfectly in my head. This was how I practiced every morning in fighting games in the past. Because of that, I didn't really fail when I tried to execute a combo. I should have no problem if I practiced using this method. I hope. Breathe. A deep breath. I send the blood flowing from my toes and the top of my head into the right of my hand, using that feeling to gather power, and then have the feeling of firing it out of my palm. Carefully, carefully, with every heartbeat gathering it bit by bit. Water, water, water. Water bullet? Water's ball? Water ball. Water ball. Panties. Even thoughts were mixed in. Even thoughts were mixed into it. One more time. Concentrate. Squeezing water out. Wait. Concentrate. Squeezing out water. Ha! I unconsciously shouted like a monk, and the water bullet came out. Eh? Huh? Bop. The moment I showed surprise, the water bullet fell way too quickly. Ah, ah, ah. I didn't chant just now, right? Well, I did. What I did was to recall the feeling of using that spell and imitating it in my mind. But can it be just by redoing the flow of magic made incantation unnecessary? Was voiceless incantation that simple? Wasn't it supposed to be an upper class technique? If it's that easy to succeed, what's the use of an incantation? Even a novice like me can cast magic using voiceless incantation. Concentrating the mana in my fingertips and determining the shape in my mind. That was basically it. In that case, incantation was completely unnecessary. Everyone can just do this instead. Can it be that incantation is the activation of magic? There's no need to replicate the feeling of gathering blood. I can just complete it if I let out my voice. It might be something like that. It's just like an automatic car. One can actually change it to manually. It'll still work. Incantation will automatically cast magic. There will be several advantages to using incantations. Firstly, it's easy. Instead of explaining it as gathering the blood from the blood vessels in my body, everyone can simply recite it and succeed, right? Everyone can simply cite and succeed instead. Both teacher and student will have an easier time. And after teaching this over and over, it'll become incantation, something quintessential. Secondly, it's convenient to use. Needless to say, attack magic's meant to be used in combat. Instead of closing your eyes and going, while concentrating, it's faster to recite it quickly. It's a question of which is easier, run with all of one's strength while drawing a clear picture, or to run with all of one's strength while chanting. It must be different for various people. Perhaps there are those who would find it easier with the former. Quickly flipped through the magic textbook. I found nothing on voiceless incantations. That's weird. Based on my experience, it wasn't that hard. Maybe it's a special talent, but others can't use it at all. Maybe I can think of it this way. A magician typically starts out as a beginner and ends up as a veteran, and everyone uses the incantation method fast. After thousands of times, their bodies would be used to incantation, and when it came to voiceless incantations, they didn't know what to do. Therefore, it's not disseminated, it's not recorded in the guidebook. Whoa, that explains it. Then that means I'm not an ordinary person. That's amazing, right? It's like I'm using a tip sheet. They used a crime catalyst without seeing an oratorio. But all I did was use the catalyst like normal and open the gate. That kind of feeling. Woohoo! I'm getting excited. No. Calm down. Cool down. Past me was deceived by this feeling. Because I'm better at using the computer than the average person and got that feeling when I was kind of the chosen one. I became greedy and eventually ended up a failure. I have to be humble. The most important thing is not to treat myself like someone superior to others. I'm a novice. Novice with beginner's luck, and managed to hit the bowling pins with a strike. I just have beginner's luck. I don't think I'm a talented person with talent. Should be hard working on this. Good. I need to rely on the chant to use spell, then based on the feeling I experienced when casting, I could practice the voiceless incantation repeatedly. Now I'll just use the format to learn. Then let's do it again. But when I stretch out my right hand, I feel strangely sluggish. It's as if there's something heavy on my shoulder. Feeling of fatigue. Is it because I'm concentrating too hard? No. I was at least considered a pro at internet gaming. Self-proclaimed. I I was a man who could continue hunting for 6 days without sleeping if I needed to. Concentration wouldn't vanish just from 2 attempts. That is to say, my MP is depleted? Goodness. Goodness. If they say the mana amount is decided at birth, my mana is only enough to fire 2 water bullets. That's just little, right? Or is it because I'm a beginner? My efficiency when using mana properly is really low. No, how can that be? Be safe, I tried firing off the spell one more time, but in the end I fainted. Part 4. Oh really, Rudeus? You're sleeping, just go to the toilet and then sleep on the bed. When I woke up, I was treated as if I had fallen asleep when reading the book and wet the floor. Damn, I got scolded for wetting the floor even when I'm so old. Damn it. I'm only 2, right? Wetting the bed is still forgivable? But seriously, isn't my mana's too little? It's made me feel really powerless. Well, even if it's 2 water bullets, the next thing is how to use it. In any case, I should practice to the point where I can fire it right away. The next day, I was fine, even after firing 4 water bullets. I felt tired after the 5th shot. Based on my experience yesterday, I know I'll faint if I fired another shot, and I decided to stop. I began to think. My current maximum 6 shots is 2 times more than yesterday. I looked at the barrels worth of 5 water bullets and wonder, reason why the number of shots increased by 2 times from yesterday till today. Was it because I was already tired yesterday? Or was it because I consumed more MP before? Or was it because I consumed more MP yesterday? Casting them all through voiceless incantation, but there shouldn't be any difference between the 2 methods. I don't get it. Maybe the number will continue to increase tomorrow. The next day, the number of water bullets I could create had increased 11 times. It feels like I can increase the number of shots I can fire with the number of shots actually fired. My theory's true. By tomorrow, I should be able to use the spell 21 times. Another day passed. To confirm my guess, I casted the spell 5 times and stopped. Another day passed, and my limit became 26. My limit really is the same as the number of times I had cast the spell. You actually bluffed me. What do you mean a person's total mana is decided on birth? Determining talent, an intangible thing you can't even see with your own eyes. A child's potential isn't what an adult can determine. Well, this also means that I can't blindly trust something from a book. The book probably saying something like humans' happiness has a limit. That sort of thing, or was it referring to the results of training? Did it mean after rigorous training there's a mana cap? No, it's too early to draw a conclusion. This is still just a hypothesis. Something like, like it's based on how much you can grow or something. When casting magic during infancy, the maximum value will increase exponentially, or something like that. Can't ignore the possibility that maybe it's due to my special body. No, it's good to treat myself as special. In my original world, it said that the athletic ability increased exponentially during puberty. The problem was that after puberty, no matter how hard one try, there's not much progress. Even in this world, something like magic, human's body structure shouldn't be any different. Basically the same. Then there's only one thing to do. Train as hard as possible before puberty ends. From the next day onwards, I depleted my mana to the fullest every day. At the time, the number of spells I could use increased. As long as I remember the feeling, it's easy to use voiceless incantation. Anyway, my short-term target's to completely master elementary magic. Elementary magic is just as the term implies, at the lowest rank amongst all magic attacks. Water and flame bullets are considered the basics even amongst the elementary spells. There are 7 difficulty ranks to magic: elementary, intermediate, advanced, saint, king, emperor, and god. I read that an ordinary educated magician can improve his specialized magic up to the advanced rank, while the typical uneducated is able to cast elementary to intermediate rank spells. If we're going by the rank beyond advanced based on the system, those called a fire saint or a water saint can be considered to be one of a kind. Saint rank, earning that a little, but that magic guidebook only has fire, water, earth, and earth systems up to the advanced rank. Where can I learn spells ranked saint and above? No, it's better not to think too far ahead. It's the same, too, for RPG Maker. If one started off by creating the strongest monster, there's a high chance of being dejected. One should start from the slime. Though, I didn't even finish the slime, even though I started from it. Now, the book contained the following elementary water spells. Water Bullet, a water bullet that can be shot. Water Ball. Water Shield, water that rises from the ground to form a wall. Water Shield. Water Arrow, a 20 cm dart that's fired. Water Arrow. Ice Strike. Creates a column of ice to smite an enemy. Ice Smash. Ice Weapon. Forms a sword of ice. Ice Blade. I tried out everything. Even though each spell was elementary, the amount of mana it took to cast them varied. Using the water bullet as standard, a single cast expends 2 to 20 water bullets worth of mana based on the spell. Basically, I practiced only water magic. It would have been a problem if I'd tried fire magic and caused a fire disaster. Speaking of fire, it seems the amount of mana used correlated to the temperature. Higher the rank, the colder the ice got. While the book said certain spells could fly out of my hand, whether the water bullet or water arrow, I could never get them to work properly. But I'm unable to shoot anything, whether it's water bullet or the water arrow, even though the book tells me so. Why is that so? Where have I gone wrong? I don't get it. The book had said something about the spell's size and speed. Can it be that creating the bullet, I still need to control it using... Let's try it out. Oh. The water bullet became bigger. Oh! Whop. Oh. But it still fell onto the floor. After that, I tried various means to change the bullet's size. I created 2 different bullets at the same time. Changed the size of the bullets at the same time. But even though it's a new discovery, none of the bullets look like flying forward. Water and air aren't affected by gravity and can float in the air. In the end, though, they'll still disappear after a certain amount of time. I tried using wind to shoot a floating fireball, but it felt wrong somehow. 2 months later. At the end of all the mistakes, I finally succeeded in making a water bullet fly. By now, I've basically gotten a basic understanding of the concept behind incantation. There are certain steps to incantations: creation, setting of size, setting of firing speed, and activation. With this, the magic spell is done once the user determines the size and speed, which means after the chant, the spell automatically takes shape. 1. The spell automatically takes shape. 2. After this, within a fixed time frame, increase the mana input to adjust the size. And 3. After the size adjustment during a fixed time frame, the extra mana input was the adjustment of the speed setting. Once the preparation period's over, the magic spell leaves the caster's hand and automatically flies towards its target. This is the sequence of an entire thing. This is most probably correct, I think. The trick is that after chanting, I need to add more mana twice. If there are no adjustments to the size, the firing speed adjustment won't occur. It's no wonder that when I tried to fire the bullet, the only thing that happened was the size changing, nothing else. And to add on, when I'm doing voiceless incantation, I'll have to process all of this by myself. Even though it's a hassle, it can reduce the time needed to change the size and firing speed. Possible to be several times faster than an incantation. Also, modifications can be done during the creation phase of a voiceless incantation. For example, what the book didn't record was how to freeze a water bullet to create a ice bullet. If I practice this, I might be able to use the Kaiser Phoenix attack. My face is full of pride. With different ideas, I can create a variety of effects. This is becoming interesting. But the basics are definitely important. I'll have to wait until my overall mana increases before experimenting. Increase my mana capacity, use voiceless incantation until it's easy as breathing. These are my 2 assignments. It's easy to have setbacks if I suddenly have a large goal. It's best to start off with something small. Alright, time to work hard. And so I kept practicing elementary magic until I nearly fainted.